another episode of Trainwreck Fantasy Football. I have an awesome guest today. Very excited to be talking to him. Happy he hopped on. No more further ado, Greg Vorse from Spectrum news reporter. How are we doing today?
I'm fantastic. We're about 2 weeks away from the bulk of the fantasy football drafts. Doing some crunching, got my paperwork, my laptop. We're good to go.
Yeah, you getting some mock draft reps in?
Oh, dude, I've probably done 25 or 30 mock drafts already.
Boy.
I've done a couple actual league drafts already. As I was telling you before we started, it's a sickness.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no cure.
That's what I was saying. I was like, it's kind of early to start the show. I go, no, it's not. Like, people have been drafting for a month now. I don't know. Everyone does it in a different spot.
If you're in a best ball league, those have been going on forever. If you do a long form draft that can take 2-3 weeks where you have 4, 5, 6 hours to pick, I mean, you got to do it now. Now, granted, I say don't draft until after preseason week 3, but sometimes you just can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on people's schedules. I usually like that too, right around the preseason week 3, 4. But so let's get into some sleepers and busts. Who do you have? How about maybe one of your best players that you're hoping for a big year, maybe had a down year last year, or is it a rookie?
My guy I am really targeting, you might not necessarily call him a sleep, Kerryon Johnson.
Okay.
Lions running back.
Yep.
They got rid of Theo Riddick, so maybe more of that passing game. He gets involved there more. If you can get him in the third, where I've been getting him a lot in mocks and in some other drafts, that's my dude this year. I'm really hitching my wagon to him. Going deeper into the draft, wide receiver Dante Pettis. I'm all about those guys that have that true upside when you start getting to that 8th, 9th, 10th round. I think Dante Pettis has that wide receiver one, especially if Garoppolo is healthy there in San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan's offense, we know they're going to sling the rock around. So that's a guy I love. I love getting those high upside. Deshaun Jackson now with Philly. Carson Wentz, we know, can sling the rock around. I'm getting him sometimes in like the 15th round where you're just like, sure, why not have him on my roster?
Why not? There's no point to leave him on the waiver wire. That's actually a great point. You brought up Dante Pettis. I was actually on a show a couple weeks ago. I was talking about him. I think he's a great player.
Yes.
And not to mention, I'm hoping Garoppolo will come out and play how he should play with that money. I think they have a pretty good team. I mean, they got Jerick McKinnon. I like Dante Pettis. Garoppolo's, contingent on him being healthy. And I base a lot of my players when I draft or like formulate my team. I like to pick players on good teams, Of course, it doesn't work out all the time, So I think it's going to be an up year, and that should only help his production. And that's another great point for Kerryon Johnson. I'm really high on him. I loved him last year. I know he kind of had a little bit of injuries. The team kind of, on the fence. They weren't great. But I think the Lions have a decent year this year. I'm not saying they're going to be great, but I think Kerryon Johnson will be a great sleeper. So I like both those picks. I'm right on you with that one.
And then if you go even deeper, you can look even further, down the list, if you will. I'm all about, don't make these picks until we see some preseason. But whoever wins the Barber versus Ronald Jones running back in Tampa Bay, whoever wins that battle, that's going to be a good guy to have too. Arians, we know, another offensive guy. So that's another one. Whoever wins that running back battle, wait until we see in the preseason what's going on there. But if Ronald Jones can show what he showed at USC and why they picked him, I want some Ronald Jones stock.
Yeah, I like the young guys. I mean, that's their prime. So actually, that's what I like. What about Josh Jacobs? Do you have any opinion on him?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want the Bills Mafia to get mad at me. I'm a Raiders fan.
Oh, no.
So I try to shy away from picking guys on my favorite team. It's been really easy recently because the Raiders have been so brutal the last few years.
And the Bills.
So I haven't had to really worry about any of their guys. But Josh Jacobs, I mean, he just runs with a style I think John Gruden's going to love, where he's one of those guys. It's like, you know what? That linebacker standing in the hole, me and you, buddy, Oklahoma drill. Let's see what happens. I think Gruden's going to love that. The only problem is, especially with this AB foot news that just came out today, right before we started taping, if he has to be the guy, it sounds great on the surface if he's the guy, but if he's the guy where there's 7 and 8 dudes in the box and it's the Raiders box, I don't know.
Yeah,
and we're seeing him. That ADP is like 3rd, 4th round. So it's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, see, that's what I was saying about the Raiders, too. I was like, if you do have AB on the outside, they got Tyrell Williams, too, you're able to spread the ball. That would help him. Yeah, if there's something wrong with AB, I could easily see it dropping a little bit. But, I mean, I'm indifferent about him. I mean, he's a great player. The team is kind of, like you said, a little shaky.
I have so most every draft I do, not a plug for them. I don't care who you go through. I do most of my stuff through ESPN because everybody has it. So that seems to be the easiest.
Free ads on the show. No.
But that seems to be the easiest to do is going through them. So I have their rankings, sitting right in front of me for a PPR draft. So behind Josh Jacobs, you have Marlon Mack. I'd rather have Marlon Mack with the Colts. You have Kerryon Johnson, who we mentioned. I'd rather have him. I'd rather have James White. I'm a big James White guy, especially in PPR. So that's 3 guys listed after him that I would draft ahead of him already.
Yeah. I mean, no, that does make total sense. But I think he would have a decent ceiling, though. If you were to get him a value pick, it wouldn't be like a scary pick. So here, I got
he has no competition. So he's getting touches.
Exactly. So that's this is what I want to bring up then. What's your opinion on Jordan Howard? Because I feel like this guy was an elite back over at the Bears. I mean, he was like second in rushing one year. I think he didn't, he was elite. I thought he was going to be an elite back. And then they just really dumped him out. Now he's on the Eagles. What happened?
My opinion on Jordan Howard is if you have him, think you might get 3 or 4 weeks out of him. Once Miles Sanders catches up with that offense in Philly, there's another sleeper.
Yes,
Miles
exactly.
Sanders coming out of Penn State. Once he gets caught up and acclimated to that Doug Peterson system there with the Eagles, you might have another guy that you had to stash for a few weeks, but he becomes the guy in that offense, which we know is going to put up points. I think he starts to take over for Jordan Howard, especially again in a PPR league where you're going to steal some of those points with him getting the passing bulk out of the backfield. You saw Tariq Cohen already steal that from Jordan Howard with the Bears. That's exactly where Miles Sanders is going to come in and possibly also get the 3-down type work. So if you're a patient person, and this might be my biggest flaw, is I'm not patient at all when it comes to fantasy football. I end up making 45, 50 waiver moves each season. But if you're patient and you have Miles Sanders again in that late kind of rounds, that last third of the draft, and you're willing to sit on him, that might be a good upside guy.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. See, I just feel like, do you think he would succeed on another team? Like, do you think there's any way he's gone? I mean, I just feel like he is a good back, though, but I see exactly what you're saying. Like, it's a bit crowded there, too. Not even just
right. When they brought Sproles back, which that tells you there goes, he's going to be their 3rd down guy until probably Sanders gets caught up. So, that backfield is really crowded. And we've seen that the main guy there can be something. Jay Ajayi was kind of nice there at the end of the season when they first brought him in from Miami in that trade. But it's so hard with the draft that you're almost going, all right. I mean, you're not going to use 3 spots on their 3 running backs and see who's the best.
Exactly. Yeah, you'd have to take one, which would probably be then the rookie sleeper.
And also for me, when you're splitting hairs on do I want those 2 guys, take the one you can take last.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, that's a fantastic point. Way more value. More value. So this is my last sleeper personally. You can talk if you want more about him for some running backs. Tavon Coleman. Like, I think Tavon Coleman, I honestly used to not be high on him, but Devontae Freeman had that one great year, and he's really been inconsistent injuries, and they used him a lot last year. I mean, he was a viable PPR player. If anything, 2nd running back, 1st for some. I mean, he was getting the PPR points.
My thing with him, again, is that crowded backfield. I mean, who's
Ito Smith. Right. Ito Smith as well. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, Coleman's now out with the Niners.
Oh, that's right. They did move him.
So you have
another.
Breida, you have Coleman, you have McKinnon. So that's another backfield where it's like, who gets fed?
Yeah.
And again, Shanahan's offense is probably going to put up points. I don't mind having Tevin Coleman on my roster, but is McKinnon going to get fed? Is he back from that blown knee from last year that made some fantasy owners upset?
I still wasn't sold on him either, but no, it's still another able body that they paid. No, absolutely. All right, so what about some receivers? I mean, who are we talking about receivers here?
Another guy I really like that you can get a little later, and I think he might be a sneaky one. Everyone's fallen in love with Golladay with the Lions. We talked about Kerryon Johnson and how that offense could be sneaky good. I am a Marvin Jones Jr. truther. Every year I somehow end up with him on my roster, whether I pick him in the last third of the draft or I trade for him. And every year he has 2 or 3 or 4 games. You're like, dude, this dude won my week for me because he had that crazy 50-yard touchdown or he had the 10 receptions for 100 yards and a score. So Marvin Jones Jr. is another guy I like a little bit later in the draft. And then what is the Cardinals offense going to be? Christian Kirk If they're
yeah.
truthfully going to put up 75 plays a game, like some reporters are saying out in Arizona, that they're looking at trying to get that many plays per game, someone's got to be catching the rock. If Fitzgerald does finally fall off that cliff, I mean, he's what, 600 this year?
Yeah, he's 601.
He's been around forever. So if he does take that step back and Christian Kirk takes that step forward and becomes the dude, Kyler Murray was going to want that safety valve. It could be Kirk. Again, that could be some PPR gold if you can get him. Again, I go to those ESPN rankings. He's 36th right now for them amongst wide receivers. So if I can get him there, sign me up.
Yeah, especially because he has the ceiling to be the number one receiver, maybe top 10, top 15, which is that'd be solid value.
And we know Cliff out there with Arizona is going to sling. They're going to sling the rock around. And honestly, they're probably trailing a ton, which means it might be one of those things where you look at your score for the week, halfway through the fourth quarter, and you're like, Christian Kirk's done nothing. Then all of a sudden, 2 straight drives, they do nothing but throw it around, and he gets 6 catches. I'm like, all of a sudden he has 20 points.
Yeah, you're like, all right, deal, take it.
Yeah, I'm in. Sign me up.
Yeah, you know what I want to talk about too? So I know the whole, besides the foot issue here with Antonio Brown, but like him and Julio Jones. So of course they are getting old. So that's one of the biggest reasons I say it. They're obviously superstars still. But I mean, the way I put it, they're ranked right around that like 4, 5, 6. Like, I mean, I probably would say get the younger guys at this point, right? Like Julio hasn't been getting the touchdowns, and it's like, where would you rank them there? They're like, where's the value? Like, they're not first round, right? I mean, second round, like, I think,
like, what's your strategy would be where I would say, what do you do with Julio? Because there are some people that the first round, I must get a running back, whether it's the big 4 or David Johnson or Bell or still taking that risk with Gordon.
Melvin Gordon,
James Conner. What do you do there? If I'm sitting at 10, 11, 12 in a 12-man league in PPR and I decide to go 0 RB and I can snag both those guys with pick 10 and pick 14, I'm gonna try to take that to the bank.
No worries about that though. What about Derek Carr?
I do worry about it, but going back to what we were saying about Josh Jacobs being the only one getting fed, who else is Carr gonna throw the ball to? Assuming the foot's good, assuming there's no foot issues at the time that the season actually starts.
Yeah.
And I could see Carr wanting to not get, shelled like Roethlisberger did off the field. So Carr is giving him all the targets that he could want. And again, just kind of like we were talking about with the Cardinals trailing a lot. As I said, I'm a Raiders fan. They're going to be trailing a lot. So it could be target city for AB out there if he's 100%. Might not be a ton of touchdowns, but if you give me, 10 receptions, and he led the NFL in yards again, you give me those, I'll figure it out.
So you think the production could be there?
I barring injury again, I think both those guys still have at least one good year left, and at some point Julio's got to catch a touchdown.
I know, what the heck?
A guy that good can't finish with 4, 5, 6 touchdowns every year. At some point, and he's not getting the 3,000 yards he's set as his target. But maybe Calvin Johnson's single season record could be up for grabs if he, unintended, if he goes and gets it.
Yeah, 0 touchdowns, 6,000 yards. Yeah, that's Julio in a nutshell.
Exactly.
I mean, I like it.
That's who he's always been. He was that back in college too.
I know. I mean, but you would still keep them up there. But would you take one of the younger, say like a Juju Smith-Schuster? You said you think those guys will get first, or?
Oh, Juju Smith-Schuster has.
Those are all ranked so close. I know it's so hard. You're like, I like them too, but I don't know if I'm sold on it. I like Juju, but I'd almost rather have James Washington in like the 15th round, because that number 2 receiver with Ben always puts up production. Yeah, Juju.
Well, that's what I'm. Yeah, but now Juju's the one.
Yeah.
So who steps up to his void? And going back to our sleepers, that could be another guy, James Washington, and also Jalen Samuel. I love James Conner. We're literally from the same hometown. My mom and him went to the same high school. I know his family, his backstory, even beyond the cancer, is amazing. But if it comes to where Jalen Samuels is snagging those catches, that could be another dude to target late. But no, I don't fear AB or Julio yet. But I wouldn't. I'd put Juju in that same pile of guys. Any of those guys I'd be absolutely fine having as my wide receiver 1.
Okay. What about Connors? You are sold on Connor. I mean, I get it, but you know what I mean? There is a question mark, right?
The biggest problem with Connor is, in my first 2 rounds, I like to be guaranteed lock solid, barring a blown out knee. My guys are good. They're starting every week but the bye week.
Yeah, your Barkley, Zeke, McCaffrey.
The only thing I fear with Connor is if you go back and look at his stats last year, while he had those amazing games against down opponents, when they played good teams, he had like a 43-yard game. He had some lower games. And if Samuel does snag some of those passing downs, he could fall a little bit. But yeah, I'm on the James Conner train. But as I said, I might be a little biased because I know James Conner from being from the same town and knowing his family.
Yeah, I mean, he did ball out, so there's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that.
And how can you not root for him?
Oh no, yeah, he's definitely a guy you'd like to see do well. No, I totally get that. So about some quarterbacks, do you have any sleepers or someone you think's just not worth even taking? At the value wise, you know
I don't want to say it because I don't want any of my friends to watch this.
I know. I was actually going to say I want to get into some strategy next, but I'm like, damn, like I don't want. We got to be careful with what we say here.
I have a ton of stock in 3 different guys as kind of that QB2 sneaky upside guy. And if you want, I'll mention all 3 of them.
That's up to you. That's your strategy.
Well, if I say all 3 of them, hopefully I can get one of them in every draft.
Okay.
The deepest one's Josh Allen, which we know the best. I mean, I was getting into it with some anti-Josh Allen, flat earthers on Twitter the other day. The last 5 weeks of the year last year, he was a top 5 QB. And even if you take those touchdowns away and cut it in half, he's still a top. I think I figured it out. He was like 8th in the league in those last 5 games. And that was without Brown and Beasley and whoever emerges at tight end.
The O-line.
Pardon me. Correct. Right. So if he makes that jump in the second year that Pat Mahomes won an MVP his second year, Carson Wentz should have won an MVP in his second year. Watson was amazing in his second year. If he even makes half of that jump and I'm getting him at QB 24, I mean, I'll take it every day of the week. The other one, and we talked about this a little bit prior to starting, I'm all over Jameis Winston. I mean, I hope all his knucklehead issues are behind him and he's gotten that figured out. But Bruce Arians is known for maybe my favorite saying in football: no risk it, no biscuit.
Oh, so yeah.
Jameis is just going to be slinging the rock all over the place. And one of the things I like to look at quarterback is when we project wide receivers, well, someone has to throw them the ball. So if Mike Evans is a top 10 wideout, if Godwin's a top 20 wideout, and O.J. Howard's your top 5 tight end, well, who's throwing it to him?
Winston.
So those are his stats, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, one thing, people always think Winston's going to run. He's not. I mean, yeah, he's a freak athlete. He could have played pro baseball, but he's not a guy that runs a lot. I think he actually has 1 rushing touchdown each of his last few years. But his rookie season, he had 6. So if you give me 3, maybe he sneaks in 3, and the backfield doesn't work out, as we talked about a little bit ago with Barber and Jones, and he snipes some of those touchdowns, I am all over Jameis Winston. And then the same theory with Jared Goff. If we love Kupp, if we love Woods, if we love Cooks, how do you not like Jared Goff? Because if they're all going to ball out and be top 20 wideouts, well, again, someone's throwing them the ball.
Yeah. That's actually why I love Winston so much, too, because the way my strategy, I try not to give too much out. I tell you this. When the quarterbacks start going, I don't touch them. Like, as much as I want a Mahomes, as much as I want an Andrew Luck, I'm not taking that value because I can get the depth with it. Like, I said this in the last show. I always get judged for it. I don't know why, but I usually go for like the Kirk Cousins that literally is just like like a 10th round. You know, it meant nothing. I just got he's not going to get as much, but it's still up there. And now you're looking at, earlier in the draft when I was able to fill my starting receivers and running backs, and then they're rolling some bum,
The way I explain it to a lot of people is if I came to you before week 1 and here, we'll take some, if I came to you before week 1 and said, I'll trade you Baker Mayfield, who you're getting in the 5th round, and then Jameis, who you're getting in the 16th round, for a wide receiver you're taking in the 5th round, whoever it might be, Tyler Lockett, and then some bum,
that you'd get in the 16th. Yeah.
Right. You would take that trade.
That's my exact point, where it's like, I don't get why you could take it. Like, if you're telling me Mahomes is in the 8th round, like, okay, I'm going to take him. But
if Mahomes falls to the That's might still be too high for me. If
Same.
I go and I have both my running backs, both my wide receivers, and my tight end and my flex, and Mahomes is still sitting in the 7th, first I'm asking what's wrong with this league, because someone hasn't taken him yet. But if I can get him, sure. But the difference between, Cam Newton and Phillip Rivers, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's not the same gap as the difference between, a wide receiver you're taking in the 5th and a wide receiver you're taking in the 15th.
That was my exact point.
Like the gap is so much. It's so just value.
Yeah, and when you're only starting, that's another point. You're usually some leagues are starting 2-3 receivers, maybe a flex 4 on some teams. Right. Most leagues are 1 quarterback, if anything, 2. You got the players there. You can get the value. So that's my thing. I don't like giving that out because I like you to.
But where did you take if you had Mahomes last year? Where'd you take him? The 10th? Well, I think that's what he's being kept in my one league as, is a 10th round value. So the best quarterback last year went in the 10th.
Yeah. So I would take Mahomes at 10. I'll tell you that, my 10th round. But,
well,
yeah, I think we all would. But I think you'd hope he'd be gone before that. But yeah, again, if we somehow lucked out. So what else is on here? Why don't you talk to me a little bit about the auction draft? I mean, I don't really know much. I know obviously how it would work, but, do you like it?
I never did one before this year. And then I put on Twitter at Greg Vorse that if you need to do it in your league, let me know. And 2 different people were like, hey, I got a spot in auction leagues. And a third is actually some of your guys have been asking me to be a part of the media part of a Trainwreck Sports league. I don't know if it's auction or snake. I don't care. I'm in.
Hell yeah.
But what I think I've found is the coolest thing is that it gives you an opportunity to get whoever you like. Again, I'm a Raiders fan, so I have no favorite players. And that's what kind of makes football fun for me, is that I like every game, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. But if you're obsessed with Christian McCaffrey, you're obsessed with Saquon Barkley, but you have the 6th pick in the draft, well, guess who you're not getting?
You're not getting either.
You're not getting either of them. But if you're willing to spend $70 of your $200, of your budget, you can have them on your team. So everybody is fair game. And then what I've started to learn to do, contrast to that, is let everybody way overspend for them and then come in and snipe 5, 6, 7 really good players for under budget. I sent you that message earlier of what my roster looked like. Yeah. I have 7 basically top 3 round guys, because I got them for under budget, because I let everybody else go nuts getting those big 4 plus the big wide receivers. So basically, there's a little bit more strategy too, because I like to keep a couple bucks until the end, and then I get my Dante Pettis for nothing. I get Marvin Jones Jr. for next to nothing. I get Jameis for $1.
Yeah, if that was on the way. No, seriously. So I like the concept of that. I would love to do one.
And I think that's what people really enjoy about it that I've found so far. Again, I'm only in 2 leagues. It's the first year I've done it. Yeah. And then once it's over, it's the exact same thing. Like it's your snake league, just you did an auction draft. So it's kind of selling me on it, because I like the opportunity to get anybody, and I like the strategy. I like the math. I'm kind of a math nerd. Like, I don't know why, but God blessed me with being really good at math. It might not look like it, but I am. So I like that part of it. The downside is it can drag. It can take a long time. So whereas your normal snake league, depending on how many sodas you drank, might take 2 hours. An auction draft, I mean, I did one earlier today, and I think it ended up being like 4.
Oh, wow.
So it was like, now granted, it gets really bad at the end when a bunch of teams only have $1, so they're picking to auction off guys that you don't even care about. So it sits there counting down for 30 seconds for no reason.
Yeah,
that's where it
does seem fun though. No, it seems really fun.
It's different, and different's always fun. It's always fun to try something new. So by this time next year, if we do this again, I might be like, dude, auction's terrible. I hate it.
Yeah, you go, I am never doing an auction again. Just scratch
if I win a championship, I'll do 10 of them next year. If not,
Oh yeah, you win. You're like, okay, I'm only doing auctions.
Right.
I'm only doing auctions.
I'm the smartest man alive.
Yeah, like only auction. So let me ask you this. So I had this we tried this new thing for my one league. We did an auction waiver wire. So you had $100, at the beginning, and use it sparingly,
Right.
So like, what do you, I mean, I'm still a little indifferent. Like, I did like it though. You had the opportunity. If you were really convinced that maybe this rookie had a good week and you really thought he was going to be something, you can waste your money on it. You can outbid it. It was silent though. You didn't know.
Oh, see, I know that makes sense. Yeah.
So like Wednesday morning.
One league that we do that, the same thing. But we actually use real money, and that becomes the like party fund.
Oh wow.
That becomes like party fund, if you will, the draft for the next year fund. But it's with the same 12 guys for 13 years now.
Wow.
So it's just like some of my best buddies from college that we've always done it together. But yeah, so that becomes the like, this is your money to spend on, some sodas, as we were saying, for the next draft. So that, but we use real money, and it is just like you would do a normal waiver wire on Wednesday. You find out who you got, but yeah, whatever. Nobody picks Jameis and he balls out the first week and everybody wants him all of a sudden. And it's $100 max for the whole season. So you bet $7 and you get him or whatever. I enjoy that. Every other league, it's just the normal worst team first, going just like the NFL waivers are.
Yeah. See, I don't like that either though, because that's a great point. After week 1, if you're the last place team, like you're not really the last place. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, you're not really the last place.
Yeah, you'd almost, instead of being last and losing by, 100 to 99, you'd rather be last and have only scored 10 points somehow. Yeah. Because then you get your first pick of whoever it was that balled out the week before. You get to be the guy that gets him. I was in one league that had the crazy, and I didn't get back in it because it was too much, that had the craziest waivers ever. You could pick dudes up if you had a spot open in the middle of games.
Oh boy, I don't think I'd like that, but I guess I also am watching every game. I'd be like clicking.
Well, my team ended up nasty because they're like, dude, how do you keep getting all these guys? I'm like, well, the second I saw Aaron Jones was going to be the starter for Green Bay, I went and dropped my 16th guy and picked him up.
Yeah, because you don't really know to that week 1. You see these players, you're like, okay, too scary to pick at the draft.
The instant that the Browns were going to Baker Mayfield, it was like, I'm done. I'm getting Baker.
Yeah. No, that would have been a prime example, which is another prime example where it's like, oh yeah, you technically are last week 2. You get to get him now. Like, are you kidding me? I'd be like, wow, that sucks. So I actually really did enjoy it, and we're going to continue with that one league. So let me tell you this: what you said you're in a ton of leagues, so I have to imagine you've got a variety of them as well as me. I have PPR, half PPR, blah blah blah. How many people leagues? 8, 10, 12. What would be like your ideal thing? Personally, I think like a 12-man league PPR is just like the ideal fantasy league. Now I get it. We all love different.
That's not my ideal fantasy, but that's a different podcast.
So do you want to say it, or are we saving it?
No. That was a joke that missed wildly. You said that's your ideal fantasy. I said that's not mine. But back to football. Back to football.
It was a weak joke, folks.
No, I missed it big time. That was a huge swing and a miss. That was
a Josh Allen overthrow.
Frank Thomas back in the day swinging at a bomb and he missed it.
Oh boy.
But my ideal, actually, you almost nailed my ideal fantasy football league. 12 teams, PPR. PPR is almost standard. No PPR is almost a non-starter for me. It has to be PPR. I think I'm just part of that generation with you as well, that I just want scoring. It just looks cooler when you look down on your phone.
Oh yeah.
And your team has 140 points as opposed to 89.
Yeah, and you're like, guy had like 5 catches, but he's got like 20 yards, and you've got 2. You're like, okay, like I get it. He shouldn't have a ton of points, but I'm like, 2 points? Are you freaking kidding me? I lose my mind.
I also feel like that opens up the base for guys to take. Like James White would be nowhere near his value if you're doing a non-PPR, but all of a sudden there's another back to pick up because of what he brings to it. Tariq Cohen, we talked about a little bit ago. Those kind of guys, it broadens the base of guys you can pick from, because all of a sudden some guys that wouldn't be that valuable in non-PPR all of a sudden have some value.
Yeah, it makes it so much more in depth. I remember picking up Theo Riddick, so I was like, well, I hope he gets catches here out of the backfield. It's all.
He went to Notre Dame, so I try to avoid him, but I get it.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. So, is there anything else you want to touch base on?
Whatever you want to throw at me. For me, you also my ideal rosters. I've done a 2 QB one. I didn't like it.
Oh, okay.
I also don't like the, what do they call it, super flex, where you can put a quarterback in your flex.
Yeah. I'm not
a fan of that. I'm kind of the standard QB, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, flex, tight end, D, kicker. And I've never done IDP. I've never done the individual defensive players.
I've never done IDP either.
That's just, now you're getting, I don't want to follow what Luke Kuechly is doing.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, I don't care.
Tremaine Edmonds is awesome. I don't want to follow his stats.
Exactly. So let me ask you this then. And I just lost my train of thought. So I guess I'm not going to ask you that then.
Let me ask you this: you have the first 4 picks somehow in a draft. Who are you taking? What's the order?
There's 4 picks in the draft.
Because that's kind of that. We know those are the dudes.
Okay, that's a fair one. Well, I'm going to put it this way: contingent on the players not holding out.
Right.
I would go Zeke first. Zeke's my guy.
Ooh, okay.
I feel like he's just such a workhorse, and he can clearly take the load every game. I mean, he can get 25 runs, and he can also catch out of the backfield. I like Zeke, so I take Zeke number 1. Number 2, I know a lot of people are on the Christian McCaffrey train, and I get it. I think I might go Barkley, but I also don't like the offense there. But for the sake of it right now, we'll go Zeke, Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara.
Speaking of Kamara, another sleeper, Latavius Murray is going to get some touches, and he's going to snipe some TDs.
Is he, though?
I think he is. I think he's going to step right into that oh my goodness, their old running back that's now with the Ravens, who I all of a sudden can't think of his name.
Ingram.
Ingram, yes, Mark Ingram. I think he's going to step right into that role and could be a dude that makes many Kamara owners mad when he snipes those 3rd and 1 after Kamara busts off a 40-yard.
Yeah, vulture.
Right.
Yeah, he'll be the vulture. So let me ask you this then. What is your so personally, when I draft, kind of like back to the strategy, when I draft, I go heavy on the running back. So unless like catastrophe, I will take running back, wide receiver. I just feel like there's so much more depth, like you said, because the PPR, these players you can pick up out of nowhere. I guess it does go for running backs as well, but there's so many more receivers you can get. Or I see people get 2 wide receivers at first, but then their running backs get so ugly at the end, and then they're taking Pat Mahomes in the 3rd, and I'm like,
I don't know if I've ever done a draft where after round 6 I didn't have 3 of each, running back and wide receiver. Yeah. It's just the rule for me that you must go wide receiver, running back, wide receiver in some order. You must go with those.
You should have a 3 and 3. Yeah, you should have 3 and 3.
And then it's kind of best QB, best tight end. What's this year, if OJ Howard or Ingram were somehow sitting there in round 7, I'm going tight end. I still don't think I'm taking a quarterback that high. Mahomes isn't going to be there. Watson's most likely not going to be there. Rodgers isn't going to be there. Luck's not going to be there. So unless one of those guys falls to 7, I'm still probably not going QB that high. But I am all about running back, wide receiver, then whatever's best of the available in whatever order, running back, wide receiver is kind of how I almost always go. So if you're in a league with me, that's what's happening.
I know we're going to be using our you know what I mean? I'm getting tips now. So what about tight ends? I that's another position. I hate tight ends. I don't even like to think about them. I will snag one in like the 11th. I'll be like, okay, this guy will be musical chairs every week. I'll just snag someone off the waiver wire and we'll see what happens. Because it's like
I ended up with Eric Ebron last year doing that in a bunch of leagues.
Yeah. And then you're like, okay, well that worked. I got George Kittle that way.
Right.
So yeah, he got drafted. I'm going to pick him up, and he was starting the rest of the weeks. But yeah, I just feel like they're very inconsistent. I see people sell out sometimes. They'll get him in the 3rd. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be doing that.
So a website that is awesome, if you're not using it yet, is fantasypros.com. It's fantastic with all kinds of little tidbits and nuggets. And even their stuff that's free is really, really good. The last time they updated their rankings with like where ADP was for their leagues, Kelsey was going 8. I'm just what are you doing?
No. Yeah, you can't do that. Like that's just insane.
Like you're then going to look at your roster. And again, going back to that, like, would you make this trade? So if you're taking Kelsey at 8 and I get, I don't know, whoever, Vance McDonald in the 12th, and like I take David Johnson 8, and you're getting, I don't know, running back whatever in the 12th, you're picking up here. Let me look way down where that would be. You're picking up Jerick McKinnon. Who would ever trade David Johnson and Vance McDonald for Kelsey and McKinnon? Like, you just wouldn't do it.
Yeah. So that's my point. Like, I mean, that's fine. Like, if I'm in a league and someone's doing that, like, go right ahead.
Well, push the good players down to me, please.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm trying to help the listener, so I would not do it. But it's like, but again, if you're in my league, then more power to you. You can take that tight end quarterback in the first 2 rounds. Go right ahead. Be stupid as stupid can get, and then watch that person do it, and they win the final. But
hey, I absolutely destroyed a dude in a trade before my big quote unquote big money league last year. I mean, everyone else in the league was freaking out that the trade was so lopsided. He won the league because Derrick Henry went nuts the last 3 weeks.
So, okay, that's a good point. I wanted to bring this up. What's your thoughts on Derrick Henry? Because I personally am not high on this guy.
No.
I see a lot of people that are like, oh, like he's going high. They think he's going to be like some superstar over there. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I really am not high on this guy. I'm not high on the Titans either.
I think it goes back to kind of the same thing I said with Josh Jacobs. There's just so many guys behind him that I like. I mean, again, looking at the rankings, I will take Marlon Mack ahead of him. I will take Kerryon Johnson ahead of him. I will take James White in PPR ahead of him. So unless, I'm doing the two running back, then 2 wide receivers, and we get to the 5th, and for some reason he's sitting there, sure, I'm not going to not let him on my roster. Like, I don't have a Derrick Henry's not allowed sign up outside my office.
There's no stretching.
But I would never. There are so many guys I like ahead of him. He's not my guy. And if people want to fall in love with that 3-game stretch, that were the best 3 games he's had since probably Pee Wee football, have fun with it. I'll let you take the risk.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how I am. Again, listeners don't do it, but I mean, if someone's going to do it. So here's another thing. We were talking about this off the air a little bit before. Can you think of any of like the worst trades that someone sent you? Because I have one that's stuck in my brain. It is pretty rough.
I have one guy, and he might listen, so I won't get specific with this offer. But I have one guy, and other people in our league will text me, and they're like, "Dude, you'll never believe what he sent me." And it's one of those like, "All right, let me see a screen grab," and you're like, "Bro, why'd you even hit send?" Like,
exactly, it's like
you just wasted
fishing.
both of our time. But the trade I mentioned to you prior to coming on is in one of the auction drafts that I did. I got Antonio Brown for like $38, and his average is like 45. I stole him, assuming his ankle's okay.
Yeah.
And I got offered Cam and DJ Moore for Antonio Brown, and it was like, why? And in that league, I have Rivers and Jameis.
Yeah. So there's no need for Cam Newton, so that's negated.
Right.
So now and
that's what I wrote back to the guy. I was like, no offense to Cam Newton, because he'll never see this trade offer, but why do I want him on my roster when Rivers and Jameis? One of those two is probably going to put up the same thing he does. I just got to figure out which one.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean,
and DJ Moore, I don't even know if he's the receiver I like the most on the Panthers. Give me some Curtis Samuel stock at his draft value versus DJ Moore's. And that's hard because he's a Buckeye, but I'll put it aside as a Michigan Wolverine for a minute and say that I'll take some Samuel stock.
Whereas, just for the sake of fantasy, you got to do it.
Oh, so, everybody's all in except for no Tyreek Hill for obvious reasons. I just can't have him on my team.
No, that's fair. That's a fair one.
Everyone else is fair game.
Yeah. So listen to this one. Ready? So I have Odell Beckham. This is probably one of my worst ones. I won't name the league, although if the kid does listen, he's going to know it's him. But so he wants Odell Beckham in my 6th. What is he offering me?
Odell Beckham and your 6th?
Yeah, because we have picks in it. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Chris Thompson in a 4th. Come on. Come on.
I mean, is there a $50 bill getting slid across the table?
I know. I don't know if he's just he's hoping maybe I accidentally click accept. That's the only explanation. He's like, oh, maybe he actually hits accept and that's it. And I get him.
Where does Chris Thompson even fit in this year? Is he the 3rd back you're taking from them?
Maybe. I mean, I know he did okay with PPR last year, but it's just nowhere near an Odell Beckham. And then the pick's
Right. A healthy Geis is not a bad guy to have. I was huge on Geis before last year until he got hurt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's,
I mean, I
if you accepted that, and this is the first time we've ever spoken. If you accepted that, I would find out where you live and I would egg your house.
Dude, I'll shake on it via the interview here. So that's a great point. Just don't be that guy. Least, I'm okay with you sending something that's sided towards you. Maybe they but it can't be like that. At least take a peek at their roster. Do I need Chris Thompson? If anything, if I didn't have a running back, you could be like, oh, you needed the running back. But no, I didn't need a running back.
You can't you can't be afraid to lose trade guy, because especially for myself, I make so many trades in so many leagues. I mean, I traded for and traded away Patrick Mahomes in the same league last year. I cut James Conner before the season started because all the reports were that Bell was coming back. How dumb does that look?
That looks really dumb now.
Right.
I mean, to be fair, everyone before was like, oh, I don't think he'll actually sit out.
Right.
But he did.
But
so
I'm also in 20 leagues, so you're going to make some mistakes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're given to make a mistake. But so did you win any last year? That's a big question.
I won 2 last year, and I won the one that matters the most.
For money-wise or like?
Yes. Well, it's money-wise and bragging rights.
Yeah, like it's one. Yeah, I have one of those leagues for years. I don't want to.
I won't get too specific, but I won that league. Right leading into my wife and I celebrate our 10-year anniversary January 9th of this coming year. I got the check for winning the league at my wedding, and we had a ton of fun in Aruba off that check.
Oh, there you go. See, that really worked out then, huh?
So that league that league pays for the rest if you can win it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that was definitely a success then.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, that one's big. But it's also my buddies, so it's the like, even if it was for $0, it's the one I want to win the most anyways.
Yep. I know. I have the one league where it's like this one, no matter what, it still trumps the other ones, whether it's $10 or $6,000. You know what I mean?
So
you trump it over.
You guys are all, I assume you guys are all, the Trainwreck guys are all buddies. You guys have any like loser? If you lose, you got to do something. If you're last, I've never done that before.
No, yeah. So we're just setting this one up right now. Like I said, we're going to have a media and then the Trainwreck section. Mm-hmm. And we're going to try to figure out something for the losers. Don't worry. There is going to be something for the loser. We haven't figured it out yet.
I don't know if video plays on here or if it's just audio, but my hair, I can't do anything to this hair. It's all I got.
Okay, well, now I'm going to make sure whoever loses, buzz cut. I hope you know I have very long hair. If you could see it in the profile picture, it is very long. I would look rough with a buzz cut.
Well, that's a non-starter.
I do. Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to brainstorm. We'll get you back on and we'll figure out.
I take jujitsu classes and the coach likes to make fun of me and be like, all right, now we're going live. Everyone's not allowed to hit Greg because he can't get hit in the face because he's on TV and wears makeup.
Oh boy! So now you're getting trashed. Yeah.
So I just get made fun of the whole time. So I get it.
Okay, so we're definitely doing a buzz cut, or we'll have to dye your hair red or something. Deal?
My hair used to be like white blonde, and I went to a high school that was red and yellow, so I put little like red dots in it to be like my high school colors to cheer on. Our girls basketball team was sick, and they always played longer in the playoffs than our boys basketball team. So that was my thing for like cheering them on.
Did you get made fun of though?
No, I'm from Erie. I got the Erie Times News Fan of the Week a couple times.
Oh, look at that. Look at dropping awards now, bragging a little bit, but okay.
That might go in my Twitter bio when we're done here.
Yeah,
Erie
put
Times
that in the
News
bio.
Fan of the Week.
6-time Fan of the Week in Erie. You know how it is. So
go ahead.
No, that's you.
I was going to say, quickly, for us, obviously, I assume most of the people that listen to this are going to be Bills fans because that's who we know the most. For me, Josh Allen should be on your roster at the bottom. Don't touch the running backs. Get John Brown. Get the Bills defense.
So I was going to say, we'll get to those real quick here because I know you got to get going soon. Is that what you're saying with the receiver? Because from what I've seen from camp, I'm starting to side with Beasley a little bit here with the fact of PPR in mind. Mm-hmm. Not high, late in the round.
I think what it goes back to for me, that when you're taking him that late, because you're probably getting John Brown with the 16th pick or the 17th pick or the 15th, whatever your last pick is I want that high upside. And if Allen accidentally connects with him on one 70-yard play, all of a sudden you just picked up, what is that, 14 points in a PPR league.
Easy. And
so
then maybe even
I think that's why I like John Brown. Especially I've only done in one best ball league, but John Brown will be on all my rosters for best ball. If you don't do best ball, anyone listening, that means you don't set a roster. It's just your best players that would fill in your roster each week count for your points.
Wow. Okay.
So John Brown is on the bottom of my roster for that week that he accidentally has 5 for 120 and 2 scores.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I just got 30 points out of John Brown.
Oh, that'd be a perfect time to have him. That's how I actually put him. I said I'd probably have him deep in a roster and I'd pick him weekly. You know what I mean? If I'm like, okay, it's a rough secondary. I'm going to hope maybe he gets a bomb here. So I know I totally would side with that. But on the more consistent side, I'd say maybe Beasley could actually be maybe fantasy viable. Maybe.
This is where I want to see the preseason. Does Allen go out and show us through the first 3 weeks that they have a connection? Or is he overthrowing him, throwing behind him, and it's like, all right, maybe Beasley's not the right dude for Josh Allen's arm. So that's why where we sit right now, I'm saying John Brown. You come to me after preseason game week 3 and Beasley has a 4 or 5 catch performance, and you're like, oh, these dudes have it.
Yeah, you can tell if there's a report.
Maybe I change. What I do like is actually my story today on the Bills is about the continuity and Josh Allen talking about the continuity. And when I was looking through a bunch of our video, there was a lot of it where he's on the side talking to Beasley. And I like that.
Yeah, I've noticed that a couple times too. They like made a connection. He ran out there and went and talked to him. So I do like that too. Like I get, they're definitely growing. I guess like you said, like, can they grow to the point where it's like, yeah, he's going to get 5, 6, 7 catches a game. Can Allen even do that? We don't really know yet, but it could be.
I'd avoid, for me, whoops. Hold on 1 second.
He's dropping stuff, breaking stuff.
No, actually, my wife was FaceTiming me, but our daughter is out of town, so I know she's not FaceTiming me to talk to my daughter.
or else you'd have to leave then.
Yes, then that's one rule, Daddy. The only time I have not answered a FaceTime for my daughter is when I was in Chicago. Bottrell was announcing Casey Middlestat as the pick.
So you were like,
and I had to be like, I can't take this one.
Yeah, like,
that is because I promised my little girl, Daddy's gone so much for work. Yeah. That I promised her I will answer anytime it's possible. That wasn't a time it was possible.
Yeah, that was not a possible time. Yeah.
Like, and Heather Prusak from Channel 2 was standing next to me, and she was like, that would have been the cutest thing I've ever seen. I was like, Heather, I had to answer and say bye. Like, I didn't ignore her. I was just like, I swear, I got to go. Bye. And hung up.
Yeah, just ended it. No, right, but listen, he's about to get drafted. Come
on. Back on track. I wouldn't touch any Bills running back.
I wouldn't either. Unfortunately, because I like Singletary. I like how he's
with an asterisk. If Shady's there in the 12th, sure. But we're talking at their AAV or ADP. Sorry, AAVs with all these Sabres arbitration stuff. At their ADP, I wouldn't touch any of the Bills running backs. You mentioned Singletary. If you're in a dynasty league, I'd give you some Singletary stock.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in just straight redraft leagues, I'm not touching any of them. And I'm high on the Bills defense. Those sack numbers that were brutal last year are going to go up with the addition of Ed Oliver. If you've watched the last few practices, he is a monster. Before the draft,
absolute monster.
Before the draft, a regional scout for a different team told me that if the Bills somehow get Ed Oliver at number 9, they already won the draft.
Oh yeah.
And that's what happened. They got Ed Oliver at number 9. And I'm a huge recruiting nut, so I've been on the Ed Oliver train since he was a junior in high school. The kid, he's special.
Oh, he's special. I mean, just like, seriously, if you whoever's listening, if you see some clips on him, watch them. Like when you're scrolling through Twitter, don't skip and watch him. That dude is an absolute monster. He's going to do some great things. I mean, the ceiling just seems to keep rising with him, which will provide the interior pressure. Hopefully Jerry Hughes can turn some of those pressures into sacks. And if not, pressured throws will turn into more interceptions. I think they should be a very high defense to snag. Obviously late, but they should be one of the more first ones up.
Yeah, no, I'm taking the Bears over them. I'm taking the Rams over them. I'm taking the Chargers most likely over them. Saints are going to have a good defense. Vikings, those typical defenses. But if you get into a situation where all of a sudden you make your 14th pick and all of a sudden that crazy run happens, you're not going to lose your draft because you have the Bills defense.
Oh, yeah. I think they could actually have the potential to be really high, though, if they really step it up. I mean, they're going to be a lockdown deep, but yeah, in terms of the points on defense.
Right.
Yeah. And I do usually like to mention it. Again, I don't play IDP, but if I were to pick someone, I think Tremaine would be a good one strictly from the tackles.
Oh, and he's going to rack up so many tackles. Now.
Yeah, he already did. But yeah, especially now. And I also said Poyer because of that pressure, and he's a pick machine, really.
Right.
He's a baller, and I think the picks could be there. So that'd be my two IDPs.
And you get Rachel Bush on your team by association. So
yeah, do you know they actually have a celebrity on? You ever played Flea Picker, the website?
I have gone through it, and we've thought about using it before in that big league I was telling you about, because you can trade up to like 5 years worth of picks or something on there.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the trade. That's really cool. I really do enjoy that.
Yeah, so we've thought about going to that, but the guys are like, Greg is going to manipulate all those picks so badly. We don't want to do it.
Yeah, it is fun though to package in like next year's. Like I've traded next year's first before. Like I don't know. Like
I think I would just habitually always have traded my next year's first.
Yeah, like it's like it's really fun to be able to do that, And then some guys like, well, I shat the bed this year in the draft. I'll take it first next year, like that's fine by me. So then he's getting the first, and you're getting Odell Beckham. So or whatever. Yeah, but they had I'm not seeing it anymore. But they had this celebrity league. You could draft I don't even know where the scoring was, but Rachel Bush maybe could have been there. I don't know. Maybe she would have been undrafted.
Is it for like Instagram post or something?
I can't even look at it now because it looks like they got rid of it. I have to imagine
number of mirror photos.
Yeah, selfies are like plus 4. Instagram posts a day are +1. I don't know.
Here's my toes in the sand.
Toes in the sand, absolutely. Right. Yeah, if they're in a bikini, it's an extra 10. You never know. If I can figure out what the scoring format was for that.
Dolphin in the background, you get a couple points.
Yeah, I remember I was like, what is this? I think I even one time joined as a joke just to be like, what is this? But I just could not figure it out.
So let's break down all the kickers. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Okay, I was about to say, yeah, no, sorry. All I know is Hauschka, 3rd round, is looking pretty hot right now. Wouldn't let him drop to 4th round.
Everybody should take a kicker in the first if you're in leagues with me.
yeah. If you're only with me, I'd take a kicker, then defense, then tight end.
Nailed it.
I don't think there could be anything that would go wrong with this. Nailed it. Alrighty, so I think you have to get going, right?
Yep, I got to go in and see what the Bisons are doing.
Hey. Well, we're definitely going to have you back on the show. It was fun. I don't think it was even enough time. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think I could tell you're an avid fan as me. We probably could have talked for 3 more hours.
That we'll set it up. We'll have some sodas and do it.
Sodas or?
Well, yeah, I'm a Scotch guy. I love Scotch, and not just because of Ron Burgundy.
No,
I love.
That's a done deal. We can absolutely do that.
I have several unopened bottles that we can partake in.
We'll have a live show.
I'm in.
Live show special.
Show with a couple glasses of Scotch. By the end, we'll be talking about kickers.
Yeah, actually, real quick before we get out of here, I think one of the cool ideas I want to set up is for the Trainwreck draft, since obviously this is for Trainwreck, do a live show for it. Pre-draft, what's going on, how we did it. Hopefully I don't do too bad, so I'm not embarrassed. But
as long as you guys give me a heads up on when it's going to be, because as you know, with the Bills and UB season coming around the corner.
Very close.
I've had a bunch of train puns in here. Maybe it's just subliminal that I'm putting those in there. But depending on when those are, we'll see if I can do live or not.
Yeah, I mean the Bills season's coming right down the track.
Yep.
Full steam ahead.
We're entering the tunnel. The light is at the end of the tunnel.
And it's close. Full steam ahead.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you conducting this podcast.
Oh, boy. Okay, we're embarrassing ourselves now. All right. Well, seriously, thanks again to Greg Vorse for coming on. He will absolutely be on again. That was a blast. I hope y'all liked it. And again, feel free to message us anytime if you have any questions, because the main rule for this is I want to talk about it. You know what I mean?
My DMs are 100% open at Greg Vorse. Victory Vorse. I'll talk fantasy anytime. My wife will hit me at 2 a.m. saying, "What are you doing?" I'm chatting fantasy.
I'm talking trades right now. Come on.
Right. Yeah. Some dude wants AB for DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, and I'm making fun of him to my cousins.
But he's throwing in a 14th round, so I might have to do it. Yeah, that's the last thing I have to put in here before you get out of here. They'll throw in like that really late pick, like in mine. They'll be like, "Oh, come on, but I'm giving you a pick." You're not giving me a pick. You're giving me an 11th round pick.
Which also means I got to lose my last pick. So the value even goes down again.
Yeah. So it really makes no difference. All right. Well, thanks again for joining in. Strain never stops. Good night now.